Hey guys, just to let you know that Borderlands and the last ones are on Tubi right now. That's Tubi. It's a streaming service. You probably have it on your PlayStation or on your phone. Check it out. The last ones is a zombie drama. It's in black and white. The first black and white zombie movie, I think it is. I'm not gonna check though, or you know. And also, Borderland is a mexploitation film about the cartels, and it's a lot of fun. And if you're like, hey, I want to learn about how El Paso is. Well, don't watch my film because it's not like how it is at all. But if you want to watch a fun movie set in El Paso, check it out. It's a lot of fun. Borderland and the last ones on Tubi. Check them out now. And now, let's start with the show. Hey guys, welcome to the Bomb Squad. It's a special late night one. You know, I go to sleep at 8 o'clock, so this is going to be weird. I'm going to talk the whole time like a radio announcer. My name is Andrew Hada. You've seen me on Tubi. You've seen me on YouTube. all of those things put together. You've seen them. Go check out my films. Today on the Bomb Squad, we're jumping back into Furyan territory as we continue our breakdown of the Chronicles of Riddick movies. And we're dealing with Chronicles of Riddick. Okay, so Chronicles of Riddick was a 2004 PG-13 film. We'll talk about that in a second. By David Towry, coming back for a new... he did Pitch Black. He's coming back as a writer and director. It stars Vin Diesel. It stars Judi Dench all of a sudden. And it stars...
for like 10 minutes.
It stars Urban himself. Do you have a sci-fi movie that you want to be instantly canceled? Well, call Carl Urban. It's going to be good, but you're never going to see a sequel to it. Pitch Black was like this relatively small budget film, and but in between Pitch Black coming out and Pitch Black, this one, Vin Diesel became one of the biggest movie stars in the entire world. Fast and Furious was such a huge hit that it made Triple X a hit. Universal bought the rights to the movie, and they're like, let's make a sequel. And so Vin Diesel and David Towry brought them 3 binders to make a new trilogy of films.
And in my mind, I always imagined they were like leather-bound books.
Of course they were.
Like he went all out like that.
And there was definitely like a weird infographic of Riddick riding like a lion or a dragon or some shit on the tumbler. So he gives them the key to the first one. And so they have this insane idea that like Pitch Black was like a prequel to this new trilogy of films. And also that they were going to expand the Riddick universe and have like a million side plots. And they weren't super, like, it wasn't like this crazy idea. Vin Diesel was a huge star. Pitch Black was a huge hit. Even like they made that video game Escape from Butcher Bay. And that was a huge like surprise hit. So people obviously like the character of Riddick. It was still it was a pretty moderately sized hit, but it wasn't like the huge, like they wanted it to be a Star Wars, that it was like Batman versus Superman.
Such a like, I think too, you get the Vin Diesel connection, like because he had become such a big star, but the plot is such a specific single planet horror movie in the first one.
Okay, so this is the unrated cut that we're talking about. So Josh, give us a plot synopsis of the
movie. So once again, Riddick is alone, but he's being hunted and doesn't know why. And it turns out an insane death cult army needs him. Or he's the only one who can stop. It's very vague and very retconny, but basically Riddick has to defeat this... they're kind of like the Borg from Star Trek, but like more religious. They also look like the Borg.
Let me start off by saying that once again, we're watching the unrated cut, and don't you dare watch the PG-13 cut. The PG-13 cut is borderline unwatchable, and it's only watchable because Vin Diesel like knows how to play Riddick. But other than that, like, it doesn't make any sense. It's not like a real movie. It's just garbage. It's so bad that I thought that this movie was pretty bad, but watching Chronicles of Riddick, the unrated cut, the way it should have been, it's actually pretty good. It's a pretty good movie.
Yeah, it starts rough, but it brings you around, definitely.
No, it starts off great, but okay, yeah, let's get into it since we're talking about this. So my favorite scene of the movie is like the first scene, because it's like these bounty hunters and they're chasing Riddick on this snow planet,
That is
and
great.
and
Yes,
he's
this
like
is.
killing them one by one, and like the main character or the main like bounty hunter is named Toombs, and he's like getting his men killed, like he's making it clear like, oh, I don't care about you guys, I'm gonna get paid by catching Riddick. And so eventually like Riddick kills all his men, and then like Toombs is like gonna turn around to see what happened to his last man, and Riddick's just sitting there and he's like, you made three mistakes.
First, you took the job. Second, you came light. A four-man crew for me is fucking insulting. But the worst mistake you made, empty gun rack.
Vin Diesel's so good at saying the F word, like they should just let him.
Yeah. They do allow it. They allow that one, and then there's one more in the last 5 minutes of the movie too.
Well,
Because I was
keep in
like,
mind this is the unrated.
oh, right. Okay, I've never seen the non-unrated, so.
So that's the first problem. Like Toombs is clearly like it even kind of looks like he's John's brother, and they clearly want that dynamic again of like they'll work together but they won't and stuff. But so like Riddick, instead of killing Toombs, like throws him out of the ship, and it's like, why didn't you just kill him?
Right, there's literally no reason to let him live, and
Yeah.
he kills people for such like smaller reasons in the first one, you know.
And he kills people for such small reasons in this one. He kills someone just for walking by him in this one. So then Riddick is like flying back, and he's like, "Oh, I have to go back to civilization."
And it was they're like, who hired you? It's like, oh, this like
This
Muslim
religious man.
imam, yeah, and then he realizes it's Keith David's character from the first film.
Yeah, but before he gets there, he has a dream where it's like this. It's like a he's having a dream into a CW show, and
Yeah.
and like this alien girl is like, "Hey, this isn't a costume. This is really what I'm supposed to look like. You're Furyan, and cool, have fun. Like you're Furyan, I guess. I don't know. I'll see you later." And then like nobody knows what the fuck that means, and so
Yeah, and
then
keep in mind, like the first Riddick, everyone's just a human, and then there's aliens on this planet. So the idea that now it's kind of there's a bunch of Star Trek near human aliens walking around is an extremely like out of nowhere idea for this movie.
yeah,
You
well,
know,
and that's the thing. It's like okay, well, I'll talk about it when we get to the bad guys. Okay, so Keith David is the one who called him, and then like he's like, "Why did you call me? And where's Jack?" And he's like, "Jack, I don't know. Jack left because she needed you." Oh, and then Riddick's like, "So why did you hire a bounty on me? What the fuck?" And then Judy Dench is like, "Oh, because there's a prophecy." Remember? Okay, in the
No,
original Pitch
Judy
Black, he gives
Dench
he.
teleports in out of the air and says
Oh yeah,
this.
Julie
She's
Julie
like,
Dench is
she's
an
a wind
elemental.
alien. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wind
Well,
elemental. Yeah.
yeah, she's a wind elemental, so she's like translucent if she wants to be, which is also a big plot. Like everyone in this movie is kind of translucent. Anyway, we'll get to it in a bit. So he's like, "Okay, why did you call me?" And she's like, "Oh, remember that cool monologue where you said you like were born with your umbilical cord wrapped around your throat, which is a thing that naturally happens to all humans." And also, how you were a human in the first one. Well, now, like that old lady said in your dream, like that Party City model said in your dream, you are a Furyan, and a Furyan is an alien race that has shiny eyeballs. Which again, remember in the last one where you got it medically, like it was a scientific advancement. Anyway, now you're an alien, and you're prophesized to kill this death cult that's going to come in 2 days, and also has an asteroid that they just drive around.
Yeah, that's the very like the Borg have a cube. These guys have like a circular
And so here's my biggest problem with the film. So the guys are named uh fucking not Furians. What are
Furions
the
and
no? They're called
necromongers.
necromonsters or necros.
Necromongers, yeah.
Yeah,
I
they
wrote
call
it
them
down because I was like, that can't be right. And then I looked it up.
and like their whole thing is they kind of look like knights, and then they have a helmet that has three faces on it, and their ship also has the same three faces. But see, okay, so their whole deal is like they're kind of like the Thing, where they go to a planet and they possess you, and then they turn like you still have your body, but you're now controlled by this alien in your brain or whatever. But here's the thing. Okay, so they're like the original ones clearly have this idea that they want to be human. because all their masks and stuff have these fake human faces they wear over their real faces. Hey, turn most of the necromongers into monsters. Like, wouldn't that make more sense that if you like took over a bunch of Max Reboos, then you'd put them in this helmet so that everyone looked uniform? That would make it way scarier and also would make more sense. But since they're all just dudes, it's kind of like a huge missed opportunity.
Yeah, this was one of those weird movies where it's so much more money than the first movie, but then they still went so big that you're like, oh, all the aliens are just humans. Like
Yeah,
they
yeah, that's
cut
what I'm
corners in
saying.
weird places.
Like Judy Dench is an elemental, so she's like a ghost kind of, or like she can just turn into all elements.
Yeah.
But again, she just looks like Judy Dench. Like make her into like give her pointy ears or
That's
fucking
also see, it's almost weird because it's like the first one's so hard sci-fi, and this one's kind of like magic sci-fi, and it's like Riddick went from Star Trek to Star Wars.
and then they try to escape the planet, but Keith David is murdered. But he goes to the Furyans, I mean to the Necromonsters to get revenge. And he like quickly kills one, and then he kind of like talks to the
It
boss.
is weird because they're like, oh, because he challenges one and like kills him in like a badass Riddick way, and then there's like, oh, you keep what you kill. Let's give you a tour of our facilities. It's just such a weird shift. But I do kind of like their like that the plot moves forward because their religion is so based on like
They're really
one-upsmanship.
yeah. It's kind of like the Spartans, where the better, like the more dangerous you are, the more they like you.
Right, and just yeah, so they're on super good terms, and he kind of tours their facility for a
He tours
while.
their facility.
The monsters are like, this is Riddick, idiots, kill him. Like,
The monsters are like, remember when we told you that this dude was gonna kill you? Well, he's here. What are you doing?
he's like our Hitler. Yeah,
And they're
please kill
yeah,
him.
they're literally saying like, kill the Riddick, and then the guy's like, I guess kill him. I don't know. So then Riddick like makes quick disposals of all those guys, and then what happens? The worst thing in the world.
Toombs
Toombs
comes
comes
back.
back. And Toombs catches him. Oh, by the way, we didn't cover this. It's gonna come up right now, but like Jack ran off to be with Riddick, and now he's in prison.
The prison is kind of a reverse Alcatraz, where it's underground and it's so hot on the surface because the sun is so close that like you could never escape because you would just die out there. But
Yeah, it's also
they call it crematoria, which is like this movie's unobtainium.
so then Riddick is like, there's a really cool scene that I mean, you're just gonna have to see it, but where he's hanging from like a chain over everyone else, and they're all like wanting to kill him, and then he like undoes his arms again, and he like does some magic trick where he's like
Yeah, he like
spinning.
pulls himself up, like contorts himself up, and then lets himself drop. So it's super like quick. Yeah, and he goes so
And by
fast
the
spinning it
way,
breaks the chains.
yeah, I mean, it's a cool like. There's a lot of visual effects, but it's a cool physical effect because Vin Diesel's like picking himself up by the core. He's like picking himself up by his abs. So it's super cool. But yeah, so then he kills a bunch of guys and he finds Jack, and then Jack's like,
Which
"Oh, by the
I believe is
way,
not played by the same
no,
actress.
she's a terrible new Jack, and also her new name's Kira." And then she's like, "Oh,
It's
by
like,
the way, Riddick, you lied about your eyeballs. You're a Furyan." And then see, but here's the thing: why would Riddick lie to little Jack in Pitch Black about the fucking eyeball? Like, what? Why would you
yeah,
lie
like
about that?
why was he trying to impress a 10-year-old? Yeah, that's one of those things where they had to well, they didn't have to
Didn't have
retcon
to
it.
retcon it, but yeah.
Like the way they did it makes no sense.
I do kind of like the Furion thing, but I don't think it's worth it, especially because like the Furions are. I mean, in the director's cut, it's a little bit more clear, but in the fucking theatrical cut, you're even like, what is a Furion? They just have glass eyes. How come every other Furion he talks to doesn't?
Yeah, because he meets one later who doesn't.
And the
Yeah,
girl doesn't either. I just realized
yeah,
that when I was talking about the Furions. What? This makes less sense. They should
yeah.
have just, even if they wanted to make him a Furion, but keep the glass eye thing. Because like the equivalent would be like if I saw someone and they had like horns, and I was like, "How'd you get those horns on your head?" Like it's a demon or whatever. It doesn't need a backstory. And I'm like, "How'd you get those horns on your head?" And he's like, "Oh, you gotta go to jail and meet up with some guy and he'll put some titanium horns and attach them to your skull, I'd be like, no, he won't. That medical procedure doesn't exist. What the fuck are you talking about?
Idea that, like, I almost think it would be interesting if it's like, oh, Riddick is the prophesied hero, but he was still just some like scumbag murderer, and it was just chance, like that, just like someone saw the future and thought this random human. It's like that
Yeah.
to me is more interesting than like, oh, he's literally like a space elf, you know?
Riddick and Kira or Jack, they decide like, okay, we're gonna run across the planet, and every morning the sun rises and it scorches half the Earth. I think we said that, but just in case. So they're gonna try to outrun the sun, which is a cool idea and it's a cool scene. And also, here's a thing that doesn't happen a lot in sci-fi, like I mean, Star Wars is the best example. Star Trek does it too. Like, if you go to a planet, it's an ice planet, or it's a fucking desert planet, or it's a sun planet. It's like Earth isn't one environment; it's a shitload of them. Why wouldn't other planets also be a
Yeah,
different environment?
that's definitely a Star
So
Wars
it's
type
kind of cool to
problem.
watch this. Yeah, to watch this movie that it like really incorporates something that you don't see a lot, which is like changing the environment and also burning half the planet.
They also, it's not just Riddick and Jack, it's them and like 30 prisoners that are helping them that I didn't realize. The first time I remembered, like, I'm like, oh yeah, then Riddick helps like a bunch of prisoners leave the planet. Every single one of them die in the next 10
Yeah.
minutes. He does not save a single person on that planet.
Yeah, he doesn't do good at all. So, so then they're gonna run across the planet, and then they find out that the necromongers are there, and they've attacked. Then Carl Urban attacks.
Yeah, they meet them on like the landing pad. It's like the only ship
Yeah.
to get out, and Carl Urban's waiting for them. Yeah.
And then like they're all like they kill everyone else. They kill everyone who's not needed. They capture Kira, and then they like are about to shoot Riddick, and then the fucking Spirit Halloween girl comes out, and she's like, "You're a Furyan, and you have this weird power where you can do that thing that Black Panther does, and like knocks everyone out." But then he's about to get burned, and he gets saved by like one of their guys.
Oh yeah, he was called like the Purifier because he's the
Yeah,
one who like
he's the one
turns
who like
people.
convinces you to like change into like a necromonger. And
Yeah,
he's been around the whole time, but he's not that huge of a role.
he's
Like,
kind of in the background. This was a badass scene though. I was kind of like, oh
It
yeah,
was a
I
great
forgot.
scene.
You know,
not only should he have been fighting, but all the things he did to survive are like he realizes how monstrous they were. Like because it was like the whole time he's been kind of telling himself, "Oh well, I had to do this to survive," and Riddick's kind of shown him like, "No, you didn't. You could have fought and probably survived too." And so he literally walks into the sun. And
yeah, that's a
burns
good
himself
scene.
alive.
Yeah, where he's just walking
Super
away
cool.
and slowly, yeah, and he like turns to ash at a certain point. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and like he lifts up his hand and it like burns. It burns away. So then he goes back to now Kira, like they've captured Kira, so he's gonna go save
he
her.
has to get back.
And like it's this weird thing because like up until this point you're kind of watching and you're like, damn, this is kind of the Chronicles of Riddick. Like, oh, this is the shit that would happen to Riddick, just on like a normal like this is just Riddick's normal life. He just does weird, cool shit. So then they go back and then like it's a weirdly anti-climax. Like Riddick meets the main guy and he's like, I'm here to save Kira, and they're like, Kira's already a monster. Join us. And so then they fight. And then
He
like
kind of
Carl
just
Urban,
strolls
like,
up, if I recall correctly, right? He literally just walks
yeah, he
into the
just kind of
throne room.
yeah. Well, he's wearing like the costume of the guards, but I mean he has like laser eyes. So then they fight, and then like the main bad guy, can turn. Like he can control his soul outside of his body.
Yeah, he can like separate his soul to like fight for him and stuff like that. Kind of.
Yeah. So he's like Riddick's like fighting two guys, and this guy's like the ultimate killer. He's never been stopped, and like he's like so dangerous, but they find out his weakness, which is two guys. Which is not one,
it's
like,
just like Hobbs and Shaw.
he can fight any man, but his only weakness is two men. So Carl Urban comes in, he's like, forgive me, and he's about to kill him, but then the guy like transfers his soul, but right to where Riddick is, so Riddick stabs him in the head. And then Kira's like, oh, and then Kira gets killed.
Oh yeah, she tries to help Riddick briefly, and she just gets knocked into a spike and dies like right away.
Yeah. And she's like, I was always your friend, Riddick. And he's like, was that even under contention? Like, what the
Yeah.
fuck? And then, so she stabs Riddick, or she dies, and then Riddick wins. And then, like, they're like, oh, yeah, you keep what you kill. So now you get to keep the whole necromancer army.
Yeah,
I
I
think
don't.
that that's more out of character for Riddick to want the throne.
And that which is, and again, I have not seen the third one, which I know we're going to watch at some point soon, but I assume he does not have a necromonger army in the third one. Like,
Well, it is addressed. Yeah, that's Chronicles of Riddick. It is like it's so crazy how, like, just how different this is than Pitch Black.
yeah, but in like ways where the parts that like veer closest to Pitch Black, like the prison planet and the snow planet, are the best parts, and the like weird magic politics is like
Yeah, I agree, and I
you could
like,
cut this.
I think that it could have worked um, if like they kind of like developed the monsters a little bit more and like some of this other stuff, but they really don't, and then so it just kind of feels weird and like yeah, it's like they thought that they were making Star Wars when they should have been making The Mandalorian. Like,
You kind of like it
they thought it
like
should.
Alien 3 slash Resurrection almost
Yeah,
like that, where it's like gritty and everyone's kind of shitty and
yeah, where
terrible to each
everyone like
other.
kind of sucks. Yeah, that's what they needed, and it's not that like well, it's kind of that, you know.
Yeah, it's
But
that
then you
like about
have
half the time, maybe. Yeah.
yeah, it's just such a weird like what is this? Why are you doing this? And like it's not bad. Like again, the especially the director's cut, it's way better than I even remembered, and it's a pretty good movie. I think if it had been just Riddick stuff, and the ambition would have paid off a lot more, and people would have loved it. But because they added all this Star Wars
It
support stuff,
almost needed a smaller budget, so they didn't even try to do like the big sci-fi city with a big sci-fi
yeah,
army.
and
Like, yeah,
I think the problem was like if all your characters look like humans, it doesn't matter if it takes place in the past or the future or the present. You can only get away with so much ridiculous nonsense. Like, yes, Star Wars has aliens, but we look at them and we immediately know they're aliens. So you can have the Force, but you can't add anything else. Where Riddick has like the Furyans and he has the Necromongers and he has the Elementals, and it's like they all still look like dudes, but they have like way different powers that don't make sense. And so like people were like, "What the fuck is this?"
yeah, it doesn't quite connect, but honestly, Vin Diesel like carries it. Like he is still great in it, and he has those Snake Plissken style lines of just not giving a shit. It's great. You know,
Yeah.
he's super entertaining in it. So
And I think that Vin Diesel turns this from like a watchable movie to a pretty good movie.
yeah,
And that's
yeah.
that's about as high as he's gonna get this film, just because of the mistakes they made. But yeah, overall Chronicles of Riddick, it's not bad. It's pretty good. It's way better than its reputation.
Yeah, it's like Pitch Black is good is really good that you it's like almost just like just see what they tried, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And like, man, I'm like, especially now, I'm way more down with them going in completely left field and misreading everything than like, oh, let's do the exact same plot.
Yeah, that
Um,
is true. After like because this was all pre Marvel, and now it's like, oh man, I just want a director to try something again,
yeah,
you know.
like
So
try anything.
yeah,
So yeah, so that was Chronicles of Riddick. Next time, well, in 3 weeks, we'll do Riddick, the final entry. Maybe,
is it just called Riddick?
yeah, this one's just called Riddick. Maybe
It should have been
if Vin
called
Diesel gets
Richard
his,
B.
that's the next one. But yeah, come check it out, and we will see you guys next time on the Bizom Squad.
Don't say that.